Only mode.
Show the screen now. Welcome everyone. My name is Greg Brown, Vice President of Marketing for Melissa Data and moderator for today's webinar. I'd like to thank you for attending the Fundamentals of Matching Customer and Contact Data presented by Joseph Fertitta, Data Quality Analyst for Melissa Data. This webinar is the second in our data quality series aimed at helping you understand how to cleanse, standardize, match, and enrich contact data using Melissa Data's components and software. Today's webinar will explore the common problems associated with the standard approach to matching, how you can apply fuzzy matching algorithms, and various matching strategies. During the presentation, your phone line will be muted. We will reserve some time at the end of the presentation where you can type in your questions during a Q&A session. And now let me turn over the presentation to Joseph.
Thank you, Greg. Again, my name is Joseph Fertitta, Data Quality Analyst at Melissa Data. And I'd like to thank everyone for coming here today, spending some time from your busy schedules for this short webinar. So before we begin, I'd like to give a brief introduction about Melissa Data. So we've been in business for about 26 years now. And really our focus has been the field of data quality. And of course, as you may or may not know, deduplication and matching and record linkage is in fact part of the data quality spectrum. And this is actually one of the things that we specialize in as well. So today we're going to talk about the fundamentals of matching and how Melissa Data is able to handle deduplication. So just as an overview of what we're going to talk about first, let's try and take a look at what is the importance and the benefits of doing matching. And then we're going to take a look at the importance of standardization or standardizing your data prior to doing any form of matching. And this is actually quite important as you'll see. And then we're going to take a look at fuzzy matching versus domain-specific matching and how they kind of differentiate with each other and what are the benefits and disadvantages of each. And then we're going to take a look at contact-specific and advanced matching. We do offer some more advanced matching techniques as well as more domain-specific matching based off of contact records. And then we're going to do take a look at some of the matching strategies and techniques that you can do from an architectural perspective. And then one of the things that really we found is very overlooked in the field of matching is being able to select your golden record as well as setting up your rules for your survivorship. So we're going to take a look at these two concepts as well at the end. So if we wanted to make the business case of why matching is beneficial or important, if you're trying to do some form of lookups or associate records with each other, ideally we want to have a single accurate view of our client base. And if these are distributed amongst a lot of data sets, we want to be able to associate these with each other. And this is done through matching. And then when we want to merge our data sets possibly within a data warehouse, we want to be able to make sure that there are no duplicates. And as I've mentioned a while ago, matching is actually a part of the data quality spectrum. So if we want to have good, clean data, we want to be able to do our deduplication routines as well. And then this allows us to have, just having good data and keeping the integrity of our data allows us to maintain our customer relationships and reduce costs such as mailing redundancy, sending mail 2 times to the same person or doing multiple callbacks, which just doesn't make our company doesn't make us look good to our clients when we're doing these things. So now let's talk a little bit about pre-standardization. What is the impact when it comes to matching? So if we take a look at this first example up here, you've got 123 Main Street versus 123 Main Street, the exact same address. One, unfortunately, has its street name in all caps and the street suffix spelled out, whereas this one is spelled out a little bit differently. So in this case, if we were to do any form of matching, it becomes a little bit more difficult. The same thing goes with unstandardized phone numbers. In this case, we've got the exact same phone number formatted in different ways, or at times we may have cases where we have a customer ID, the same customer ID, but yet again is formatted in different ways. When it comes to names, we could have full name where the first name comes before the last name, whereas we could have names that are inverse, where the last name comes before the first name. So just an example of these cases that probably we would like to standardize, and it's important to do it throughout our entire data set, and that's what the ideal here is. We want to be able to standardize all our data in a certain way throughout all our data sets in order for us to be able to do more accurate matching. And Melissa Data does offer tools that allow you to do that. We do have tools that allow you to standardize your database for addresses, emails, phones, names, or other forms of data types. So we do provide the cleansing tools and the standardization tools and the verification tools that allow you to pre-standardize and pre-cleanse. Now, let's take a look at the differences between fuzzy strings and domain-specific matching. What we've found a lot of people actually do out there is when they try to do fuzzy lookup or fuzzy matching or fuzzy deduplication is that they try to do things like regular expressions, computational algorithms like Levenstein, Jar-Winkler, and so on and so forth. Or they could do some soundexing algorithms for names and company names and things like that. But although we are able to do this type of matching, we found that really the most effective type of matching is domain-specific type matching, which allows you to implement specific rules and algorithms to that certain or specific type of data type. And then it also makes use of reference data sets in order to elevate the, its capabilities for matching. So let's take a look at how contact-specific or domain-specific matching really becomes more advantageous compared to fuzzy matching. If we take a look at the example up here, we've got the same address, 123 Main Street, 92688, and this one over here we've got a 123 Main Street West in 92688 with a +4 2112. So it's again the same address, but because they differ in certain ways, we're unable to match them accurately because of all these underlying factors that affect it. In this case, we've got a post direction and then a +4. Really, what we want to be able to do is to tell it to take a look at only specific parts of the address. So we could actually tell, or we should be able to tell it to match only based on the street name, which is Main Street, as well as the street range, which is 123. And if we wanted to do so, we could just do the matching based off of the zip code without the +4. And Melissa Data tools are actually smart enough to do this. We have built-in parsers that allow you to take a look at only specific components of the address and not the address as a whole. So in this case, the West would be dropped off as well as the 2112, and then we could do our matching more accurately. And the same thing goes with the second example here. We've got exact same address, First Street versus FIRST Street. Because we have reference data sets, we know or we can associate one ST to FIRST. Because of having these reference data sets in the back end. Just another example of domain-specific type matching. When we're talking about names, for example, we've got John Doe versus John Howard Doe, which has a middle name in it. Doing fuzzy matching, although it could be effective in some cases, in this case it may or may not catch it. For example, if we were going to do some Levenstein comparison type algorithm to John Doe versus John Howard Doe, the percentage match that you're going to get out of that isn't very accurate. Whereas if you have more domain-specific type matching algorithms, we're actually able to parse out the names into its individual components. So we know that John is actually your first name and Doe is actually your last name and Howard is actually your middle name. So if we wanted to do so, we could tell our tools to match only on the first and last name. So in this case, we will be able to catch these as exact matches without having to take Howard into consideration. And the same thing goes again. I want to reiterate or re-mention the importance of reference data sets. we have an example up here, Joseph versus Joe, where Joe is actually the nickname. And the only way we're going to know that Joe is actually the nickname of Joseph is if we had reference data sets in the back end. And yes, we do have reference data sets of nicknames as well. So we can associate Joseph and Joe as being the same name. And here we can kind of see the power and the advantages that you get, not by using domain-specific type matching. And to give you an example of one of more advanced matching techniques that we can provide, we have something that's called proximity matching. And proximity matching allows you to associate or match two records that are within a certain amount of distance to each other. So in this case, for example, we've got a building on a corner street, corner of Thomas and Gilberto over here. And so sometimes these buildings, we've actually seen cases where a building like this may have an address on this entrance right here on the Thomas side, or it could also have an address over here at the Gilberto side. But if you had one person in this building, you could either send it to this address or you could either send it to this address, and it'll still reach the same person. But the problem with that is, if you have two of those in your data sets, then it's going to reach that same person twice. So really, we want to be able to deduplicate that somehow. But having those two addresses with the same name is really hard to associate with each other because it's going to be two very different addresses, one in Thomas and one Gilberto. But through proximity matching, we can actually tell it, hey, find me the same person that lives within maybe a quarter of a mile from each other. And if you do find something like that, then maybe flag it as a proximity match. So in this case, we'll be able to catch that same person in that same building having two different addresses. Now let's go a little bit into the more architectural side of matching. What are some of the strategies and techniques that you could apply with our tools, with Melissa Data tools? We allow you to actually create your own rules. There's different combinations of rules that you can have out there, and really, people have their own business rules and requirements when it comes to matching. Some people want to be able to match just at the household level, so that's going to be an address and last name match, or they could also do an individual matching, which is the address, first and last name. Or, as we've seen previously, you could do some form of proximity matching on the first and last name of a person. Or you could do a combination, which is the proximity match and the fuzzy first name and then, the last name. So we give you the ability to be able to create your own rules. But on top of that, we also allow you to do combinations of these rules. A lot of times, ideally, you don't want to just match, just at the household and then you're done. That's it. No, that's not going to be the case. So if you wanted to do, for example, you wanted to do individual matching and you also wanted to do household matching, we allow you to cascade these rules as combinations of what you wanted to match on. So again, you can create your own rules, and you could also have several or a number of combinations that allow you to do matching in a single pass. And then also, sometimes you possibly want to be able to do intersection matching or suppression matching. And really, intersection, again, allows you to do record linkage, associating records to each other. And in this case, when we're doing an intersection, we're getting that set that's in between set A and B or data set A and B. So just the records that are common to each other. Whereas, the other side of that is suppression. Maybe you'd have some form of a do not call list of some sort, or a do not mail list. In this case, we could actually do a suppression and find those records that are within that suppression list and not mail or call these individuals. So just the same thing, but taking a look at it from different perspectives. And when we're actually doing our batch or our deduplication, we've seen really two main instances of how people do their matching, which is, say, for example, you have a data set and you want to be able to run that as a batch. Yes, we will be able to provide you that capability, which is deduplicating your records as a batch. And what this actually gives you are your unique records and then your filtered out duplicate records. But it doesn't stop there. Ideally, people want to be able to fix the problem as they come in. So if you have a call center or a web form that you're working with, you could actually dedupe at point of entry and make sure that your database is clean as your records come in. And this is what we call incremental dedupe. So we have both types of solutions that we provide, whether you're doing it in batch or you're doing it incrementally, or you're actually doing both. We could offer you these solutions. And finally, last but certainly not the least, I'd like to discuss the concepts of the golden record and survivorship a little bit. The golden record really is, and survivorship are concepts that we found are quite overlooked when it comes to matching. If we take a look at these examples, these 3 examples up here, you've got the exact same address, exact same phone number, whereas one record might have a missing email address and the other record might have a missing name, whereas the other record has all the information. Ideally, we want to be able to set our golden record, or our rules for selecting the golden record. In this case, what we've told it to do is to actually select the record that's most complete. So because this had a missing name and because this record had a missing email addresses, we've selected this as our golden record because it is the most complete. Other types of rules that you can set for selecting the golden record, for example, is selecting the record that is the latest or the most up-to-date. So if you had, for example, a date field here or a date column, you could base it out of that and select your golden record based on the latest record that actually came in. And then we also have the concept of survivorship, which is similar but a little bit different from selecting your golden record. In this case, we could have 2 records here, one not having your phone number, while the other one actually does not have your email address. And we want to be able to actually combine these records so that we could create a new golden record. If we could not select a golden record that already exists, we want to be able to create our own golden record based on the information that we already have. So in this case, we want to be able to somehow consolidate these records, carry them over into a single golden record, and this will be our surviving and remaining record in our data sets. Just to wrap up a little bit, and I know this webinar is kind of short, but hopefully we'll come out of here learning something new about Melissa Data and how we do our matching. Again, our tools are actually very flexible. We try to be flexible, especially when it comes to technology, because we don't want to limit ourselves in that sense. Whether you're looking for programmable APIs or out-of-the-box software solutions, as a matter of fact, we even offer our own ETL tool that does the matching for you, or you have SQL Server or Oracle database. We offer solutions for all of these. And again, just to reiterate, we also have not just the matching tools. Again, our focus is really the entire spectrum of data quality. So if you needed standardization tools, correction tools as well, we offer these solutions aside from the matching. And then we also take pride in our knowledge and our experience when it comes to fuzzy matching, domain-specific type of matching, and advanced matching techniques and strategies. And for all our products, we give you 120-day ROI guarantee, and this is actually our philosophy here at Melissa Data. We believe in your return of investment. So we give you a lot of leeway when it comes to using our software and solutions. And if you wanted a free trial, you're more than welcome to do so. You could download it free, any of our products for free on the website and get a free trial, or you could contact myself or one of the CSRs over here, and we'll be able to help you guys out. Again, I'd like to thank you for your time. And again, my name is Joseph Vertito. My contact is up here in case you don't want to stay for questions. This is our number, our email address, and Greg, I believe we could take questions right now.
Thank you, Joseph. The floor is now open for questions. If you have one, please type it in now.
There should be a chat box in the GoToMeeting user interface that says questions, and you could type in your questions over there.
Okay, we have a question. With domain matching, is it only as good as your reference data? Is the reference data yours, or do we maintain it internally?
So one of the things that Melissa Data really does for you is we're very flexible, when it comes to our tools. Uh, and we do actually allow you to do both. And what I mean by that is we actually maintain, or not maintain, but we actually provide you with the reference data sets. And because, just to give you an introduction, the way we do our licensing is through a subscription. We do understand that reference data sets do get out of date, data does get stale, and as much as possible you want to be able to keep these reference data sets up to date. And we do provide subscriptions for that. You will get the latest data sets from us, and we do update these reference data sets. Addresses change, names get added every day to the census data, things like that. So we update these data sets. We send you the updates, and then you could apply those updates with your subscriptions. And one of the things that you could also do if you wanted to do so when it comes to matching is you could also set up your own rules. So we allow you to maintain these reference data sets, change them whenever you want, and we also update them from our side once we get new information and new data.
Okay, we have another question. What are the average costs per transaction and per batch?
Well, as much as I'd like to discuss pricing here, actually we'll send you that information through email, Greg. Greg here will get in touch with you guys if you wanted to um, know more about pricing. You're more than welcome to do so. Again, I just want to reiterate that our pricing is very generous and competitive in the industry, and again, we believe in your return of investment. So um, take a look at our tools. We could discuss the pricing later on, but just to give you an idea, when you're doing fuzzy matching and deduplication, I'm not sure if we do it by tiers now. So it depends on the average number of records that you process within a year. So if you scale big, then we'll have to scale pricing with that as well. So depends on the number of transactions you do within a year.
Okay, we have another question. We've had problems with hyphenated married names. How do you handle those?
So there are actually I can think of two ways that you could handle this. Again, when I went through the slides, what you want to do or what you want to do first is to be able to cleanse your data prior to doing any form of matching. And this is actually one of the things that we are aware of when it comes to, you know, um, problems in names, the hyphenated last names. And ideally, you'd want to be able to cleanse that somehow before doing any matching. So you could actually, somehow split up the hyphenated last name and then do your matching um, to get more accurate results. But this is actually a very good question, and unfortunately, I don't think I have any specific example at the top of my head. But if I were to create a solution for this, I would first pre-cleanse the hyphenated first name, which we do handle, by the way, in our name object, in our name cleansing tool, before doing any form of matching, and that should be able to catch these types of matches.
Okay, we have one more question. How can throttle win-loss rules such as email match better than address or vice versa?
I'm thinking about this question a little bit. Match better than address or vice versa when loss rules. So I think it becomes a little unclear because there's actually, I think this crosses more the line of fuzzy matching. When you're doing fuzzy matching, there's actually a percentage or a threshold as to which um, win-loss yeah, which type actually match better. So you could have an address match that, match better than the email or vice versa. And this is usually based off a percentage. And, you know, you could actually do your win-loss rules based off these percentages, but, we actually try and avoid that because, again, we want to stress out the importance of pre-cleansing. And what we actually prefer to match on is, say, for example, did we actually have a good address, for example, or did we actually have a good email address? We're through our standardization and cleansing tools, we can actually tell you how good an address was, or how good the email address was, or how good your phone number is, or your name. And based on that information, you want to be able to give weights and thresholds on these columns. So, for example, well, actually, the first thing you want to do is you want to be able to say, for example, I want to take addresses as my priority, and then I want to take email addresses or phone numbers as my next priorities in my selection threshold for wins and losses. And after that, you want to be able to tell it, you know what, are my addresses actually better than the emails, or are my emails better than my addresses, and things like that. There's a lot of considerations when you're doing your matching, and I know that setting your rules for wins and losses can be complicated, but again, try to stay away from fuzzy matching, focus more on domain-specific matching, and I think the rules become much simpler in that case. Just being able to select, if you're focusing on addresses, make sure that the address is good. If it is, then consider that as your winning record.
Okay, I think that's all the time we have today. If you have additional questions, you can contact Joseph via email or phone. His contact information is on the screen right now. Shortly, I will be sending out a link to a recording of today's event. And thanks again for attending today's webinar. Have a great day.